Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this evening to learn about our Department of Psychology. My name is Graham Preheim. I'm an Associate Director of Admission with the University of Denver. I primarily work with our students based in Northern California, Oregon, and Washington. So if you're from one of those areas, a special welcome to you. But I'm just one of an entire office that not only covers the United States, but the entire globe. In a few minutes, I'll put in the chat a way for you to meet your admissions counselor. So if you do have questions after today, you are welcome to reach out to us. But if for some reason you're having technical issues, please feel free to reach out to admission@du.edu. We'll be happy to help you right away. With this half-hour webinar, how it's going to work is we're going to introduce our presenter here in a bit. They have a presentation for you, but during this time, you're welcome to ask questions as well. At the bottom of your screen, we have a Q&A feature. Feel free to please put your questions in there. Myself, as well as our presenter, will be answering those throughout the evening. And at the end of the presentation, we're actually going to do a live Q&A. So for the questions we can't get to in the chat, we'll be answering those a little more conversationally. But without further ado, I would love to introduce you all to Professor Danny McIntosh, one of the most important people on our campus. So he'll be joining us here on the screen, and I'll let you take it away, Professor.
Great. Everyone, I'm so glad you could join us this evening, and I'm really looking forward to telling you a little bit about the Department of Psychology. I've been at DU a long time. I was an undergraduate here. I've taught here for more than 3 decades, and I'm really excited about the campus, the program, and answering any questions you have. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, give a little bit of a presentation, and then we can talk further. All right, so again, I'm Danny McIntosh, and I'm going to tell you about the Department of Psychology. That picture there is actually out of one of my old offices on campus of the sunset over the mountains, one of my favorite times. So psychology is one of DU's most popular majors, and it is flexible in that we offer several different ways of earning the degree. You can get a Bachelor of Arts, which is the most common way and it's the most flexible approach. You can also get a Bachelor of Science, and I'll tell you a little bit about how that's different when I walk through the curriculum for the major. You can also minor in psychology, which is a very common thing for folks to do who want to get a little bit of information about people, but they have another major, another passion they want to engage in. We also have in the program a cognitive neuroscience specialization. You do that, it's a collaborative program with the Department of Biological Sciences, where you major in psychology or biology, and then minor in the other one, or you double major. And the classes you take focus on the interaction of the mind and the brain, the hardware and the software. And it's very popular for students, especially those who want to go into graduate school or those who want to go to med school or some other health profession. You can also have psychology as a secondary major, which means that it's just like a double major, except that you're earning something besides a BA or a BS. For example, you're getting a business degree. And if you want to do business and psychology, you can get the psychology major as a secondary major. For the Bachelor of Arts, which is again, the most common, it's 40 credit hours. And on the quarter system at DU with the BA, there's a lot of flexibility. Many of our students do double majors, which is an advantage because if you want to major in psychology or biology or Spanish or anything else, it's very easy to do with the BA. It also allows you to study abroad. Most of our majors by far study abroad. I think it's around 90% in the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. And for other in-depth opportunities, some of which I'll talk about in a moment. The most common double majors are other social sciences like sociology or criminology or communications, often the biological sciences, especially for pre-health students, languages, business, and really sort of anything else that you want to do is a nice combination with psychology. You can also earn the more specialized Bachelor of Science. The primary differences with the Bachelor of Science and the Bachelor of Arts is that with the Bachelor of Science, you take more foundation courses in psychology, and instead of one minor, which is required for the BA, you take 2 minors for the Bachelor of Science, and one of those minors has to be in a natural science or mathematics. Students often minor in biology and something else, for example. Some who are interested in computational approaches will minor in math and something else. So that's the primary difference with the Bachelor of Science. For the structure of courses in the major, everyone takes Foundations of Psychological Science or Intro Psych, and you can, if you're an AP or IB, or you've taken some type of dual enrollment or community college, or you're transferring to DU, Intro Psych, whatever number that is, wherever it's called, will typically count for the Foundations of Psychological Science. Then after that, you take 3 or 4 content areas, which gives you the background across all domains of the science of psychology. That gives you information to find out what you might want to specialize in and gives you the foundation that graduate schools and employers are looking for in understanding psychology. If you're earning the BA, you take 3 of these 4, whichever 3 you want. If you're earning the Bachelor of Science, then you take all 4 of these. Social psychology is about psychology in groups and relationships. Cognitive neuroscience is about the brain. Child and lifespan development is how people change from birth through death and middle childhood and all of that. And adult psychopathology is what used to be called abnormal psychology, where you learn about the different things that that can go wrong or that are differences among folks. Everyone who's a major takes statistics and research methods. Part of the benefit of a psychology major is learning how to think about people from in an analog and theoretical way, but also based on research. What do the data say about people? And how can you, as a psychology major, understand the statistics, understand the research, and if you're interested, move on and do some research yourself to find out new things about people. Then after that, you take electives. We have broad electives like psychology of diversity, human sexuality, and specific electives like autism spectrum disorders, infancy, drugs and behavior, law and psychology. Those types of things are all available, and you can choose sort of what you want to emphasize in your degree at that point. And with additional opportunities outside of classes, you can get involved in psychological research. This is not required, but we are a research active faculty. Many of us have federal or foundation grants, and we're engaged in research. The other thing is that we have a very small graduate program. What that means is we don't have enough graduate students to work in the labs and to fill all the tasks, the interesting tasks we have in the labs. So that means that about half of our majors have the opportunity before they graduate of working in a lab. It's a great experience. You learn about the methods of psychology. You get to know a professor. You often meet in lab groups with other students, graduate students, and the professor to do professional development, to learn more in-depth methods or about some area of psychology. And it's a really good experience. And most of the students who want to do that can do that. You can do that for course credit. You can do it as a student employee, either from a grant or with a work study, or you can volunteer. We also have summer research grants, and we have a distinction program. The distinction program is a 5-quarter program of very intense research training, which allows you to do a senior thesis. If you're in the University Honors Program, you have to earn distinction, but you don't have to be in the University Honors Program to get distinction in your major. And this is something that shows up on your transcript to let employers, let graduate students know the work that you've done with that. It's a program that starts winter and spring quarter of your junior year, with advanced research methods where you're in a small group where you learn how to write and think and do the statistics. Then your senior year, you work individually with a professor in the department to do a senior thesis. Then you present that at the end of the year. It's designed to start after you return from abroad. All of our curriculum is designed to allow any of our students to travel abroad. We also have a dual degree master's program where the last year of your undergraduate degree overlaps with the first year of the master's program. So you can end up then with a master's degree in psychology after 5 years versus the 6 years it would normally take. This is a research-focused degree, and it's a small program where, again, you work individually with a professor, working on research, completing a project of your design in collaboration with the professor. If you're more interested in clinical work instead of research, we have something called Field Experiences in Psychology. This is a 1-year internship program that students take all during their senior year. You are placed in a community placement within the city of Denver, and you take a class where you're talking with your peers that are also in a community placement and a clinical psychologist who's helping you not just have those experiences in your placement, but also interpret and learn from them and learn about doing clinical psychology. This program is intense, it's engaged, and with the scaffolding you get, it turns out that we are competing for these placements not with other universities' undergraduates, but with master's students from other programs across the city, because our students do so well in these placements because of their education, because of the support they receive. It's a great way to figure out if you want to keep going in clinical psychology. It's great to have in your background and experience when you're applying to graduate school if you want to go into clinical or counseling psychology. We also have a micro-credential program where you can earn micro-credentials in mental health, diversity and inclusion, and data-informed decisions. This is less than a minor. You take a concentrated 3 courses in psychology or sometimes other departments, and then you do a one-on-one hands-on project with a professor in psychology, so you get the education and you get the application through experiential learning, which is really important in our department and at the university. This also appears on your transcript, so it's documented that you have additional training, focus, and hands-on work in these areas that you've wanted to focus on. We also have Psychi, which is the Honor Society in Psychology, as well as Psychology Club and departmental scholarships. Now you may be saying, how do I know what I want to do? How do I chart my path through the major? Well, we have 4 dedicated faculty advisors. I'm one of them, and we have 3 others. We have appointments you can sign up for every week. All of us have office hours you can sign up every week with extended hours during advising registration week. And the idea is you come in, we talk to you about what you're interested in, what you're exploring, what you might want to do, what you want to check out, and then we help you decide on the classes to take and the extracurricular activities in psychology and outside of psychology that can help you have experiences so you know what you want to do. And then as you figure that out, have the experiences that help you learn about and get a record that can help you figure out and get what you want to do in graduate school or not in graduate school later on. We also have events, research night, where you find out what research is going on. You can talk with people who work in the labs and figure out if you want to join a lab. We have cognitive neuroscience night, where people present the work they've been doing and you find out what our faculty are doing in cognitive neuroscience, studying the brain. And then we have graduate school and career night in the spring, where you hear from faculty and students and programs from across the university to hear about what have people done with a psychology major. Have they gone to graduate school? What other jobs have they done? If they've gone for graduate education, what plan have they are they doing, and how has that helped them with their career? And we also have a departmental awards and presentations in spring quarter. At DU, you have a degree audit where you can see what the requirements are. You can always check how you're doing for your degree. This is also when students come in for advising, I look at this with them. All the advisors look at this with them to kind of map out what you're going to do, and you can follow what your requirements are. And we have a website that you can get to now that has all of this information I've gone through really quickly. You can find out how we do advising. And if you use that QR code, you can get to it or type in those addresses below. And when you get there, it has information for undergraduate opportunities. And I also show this slide because those are my 2 grand dogs and they make me very happy. And I wanted you to see them too. So that is the quick version of that. And now I want to make sure we have a chance to answer all the questions that you might have.
Yes, absolutely. We always need more dogs in life. So thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing the dogs. Yes, mine is sitting right next to mine, right next to me. We have had some questions come through, so I'll just kind of jump into them. One of the questions we got asked is about that dual degree program, which are pretty popular with the university that combine bachelor's and master's degree.
Uh-huh.
For a student that maybe is interested in that or maybe is open to the idea, when do students need to declare or apply for that program, and how does that process work for students?
That's a great question. The application for the program is April of your junior year, and then you apply, and then you know prior to registration for fall quarter whether you're registering for graduate classes as well as your undergraduate classes. So that's the deadline to apply. But really what you want to do is start talking with your psychology advisor starting in your sophomore year to say, hey, I like research. I'm interested in doing that. I'd like to get this master's degree. And the conversation we'll start with is, how might this help you do what you want to do to make sure it's the right fit for you? If it is, taking things like research methods as early as you can, getting involved in a lab, thinking through what topics you're interested in, or all the types of things that can prepare you to do that. But again, the program is designed so you don't have to commit to it until after you come back from abroad and you've sort of done those foundational things, and now you're focusing on what you want to do long term. So talk with your advisor. That's going to be an answer I give a lot. Talk to your advisor your sophomore year, and then kind of map out how to do that. You apply at the end of your junior year.
Yeah. And I want to go off of what you said about talking with your advisor, because I think one unique thing about DU for maybe larger universities is the fact that our faculty do advise. They teach, they research, they advise. They really are such a resource for students. So if you could maybe talk about kind of that faculty relationship, what does the class size look like? Who is teaching the classes, especially that freshman year, that may differentiate us from a lot of other of our peer institutions.
Yeah, I mean, it is. DU is a place where you're going to be having full-time faculty teach you. I mean, that is the percentage that aren't that is pretty small. Grant may know what it is now. I used to know what it was. But it's fairly small in psychology as well as the other departments, especially for the common curriculum classes, what we call sort of general education. I think that's almost 100%. Are full-time faculty who are teaching in those classes. I teach a freshman seminar. All of you have a freshman seminar, which is a small 19 or so person class that you take first quarter of your freshman year. You pick something that's interesting to you, some topic. The faculty are choosing what they want to teach on, so it's what they're passionate about, oftentimes what their scholarship is about, and you learn how they think about that. You learn what it means to be a college student, how to sort of engage that way. That's a small class. And then you're taking your general ed, your common curriculum from folks. In terms of psychology, again, you'll be taught by the psychology faculty that are here on campus. I encourage you to talk with them after class, go to advising office hours. Pro tip, faculty have office hours, almost no one uses them. You can distinguish yourself by showing up at your faculty office hours. You don't need to go just if there's a problem. You can go and say, you know what, you talked about this. I'd love to hear more about that. Or I didn't know this topic existed. What other classes might I take to learn about it? That's just your faculty. You can do that. When you want to plan your schedule, you talk to an advisor, but don't hesitate ever to go to faculty office hours. They're generally available, and generally we're kind of in our office lonely, waiting for you to come. Was that Grant? Did I get the question you were asking?
Yes, absolutely. That was a really great answer. And another faculty question we got was you had mentioned some opportunities for research for students, especially at the undergraduate level. And I think you had mentioned half of our majors are doing research within the psychology department.
Yep.
That's
That's a
wild.
huge
That's
that's a
amazing.
huge number. It's amazing, and it's a great opportunity
Yeah.
for and because we are an undergraduate, we have a graduate program. We're an undergraduate focused college
Mhm.
that we take very seriously that the students working in our labs are not just there to do sort of boring work and never get talked to in a room with no windows.
Mhm.
So all of the faculty have lab groups where the lab gets together and talks about basic training. You're learning methods. Like in my lab, you learn how to collect and analyze psychophysiological data like heart rate, that type of thing.
Yeah.
You give presentations and your colleagues give presentations on the work that you're doing. So you get that type of practice.
Mhm.
And we do professional development, like how do you, not only how do you present, but when you're looking at a scientific research article, what's a quick and effective way of doing that? This is something that will help you in your advanced classes because you're reading those articles in your advanced classes. You're in the lab, you're getting some hands-on training
Mhm.
on how to do that.
Yeah.
So there's an educational component besides the work experience,
Mhm.
which is also really important as part of that.
Yeah. Another great segue into the next question. You had mentioned very briefly that there is the psychology fraternity, Psi Chi, I believe, and
Yeah.
psychology club. Do you want to maybe talk about some of the events that they do, or maybe some preparation that they do for students on the professional development side?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the honors society, not the fraternity,
Honor
just
Society, sorry.
exactly. Yeah. Um, and it is both Psychi and Psychology Club are for students who want to do extra professional development, socialize with faculty and students in psychology. They help with the career night, for example. They help put together events sometimes there, and it kind of depends on what the leadership. It's a student-led club. So there have been psychology movie nights where some movie is shown and the faculty kind of talks about the psychology of the movie, and there's popcorn. Or there may be sort of let's get together with grad students, sort of because sometimes one of the questions is, what's it like to be a grad student? It'd be kind of nice to know what's going on.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes there's cake and food, which is always pizza often shows up. So it's really a chance just to help plan events, uh, invite speakers, to get to know other students. And it was really something that varies year to year depending on what the students' leadership at the time want to do.
Awesome. And one thing about DU, there's always food at events, so you can always diversify your palate that way.
Yes.
Another question we got was more about the cognitive neuroscience track. And I know at the university you can go through the psychology department. I believe you can also go through the biology department, biological sciences. To maybe talk about the program itself and maybe which path would be the best fit for students, and just how that works overall.
Yeah, so it was a multidisciplinary program developed by biological science and psychology decades ago. And basically, what you do is you have to major in one and minor in the other, that or that, or you double major.
Mhm.
Uh, you meet the requirements that any student would meet for those majors and minors. But within that, there's some specialized classes that you need to take. So if you looked at the overall curriculum, you'll notice there were a number of electives you took.
Mhm.
If you're in the cognitive neuroscience concentration, some of those electives are taken up by specific classes relevant to
Mhm.
cognitive neuroscience. The way to think about what cognitive neuroscience is, the way I think about it, is in biology, you learn about the hardware, and in psychology, you're learning about the software, and that interaction is that how does that relate to each other?
Mhm.
What part of the brain plays a role when you're making decisions? What do we know about how lesions on that part of the brain affect decision making? Or how do we know from the psychology faculty that do brain scanning research what parts light up? There's a lot of overlap between biology and psychology. They're sort of disciplines that are right next to each other. And there's faculty in both departments that do research and teach at that intersection. As a student getting a concentration in cognitive neuroscience, you're taking classes from those faculty and learning how to do that. And there's labs in both biology and psychology where the research is on cognitive neuroscience. How does the brain work in psychology? How does the brain work at various levels of analysis? Then, in both departments, to get the major, you take a senior seminar in cognitive neuroscience. There's a biology one and a psychology one. And what's fun about that is it is both biology and psychology majors, all of whom have taken these specialized classes in cognitive neuroscience. And you sit down with the professor and you talk about literature and ideas and questions and research that's relevant, and you have that expertise from the students and faculty in there. I taught that class maybe 10, 15 years ago. It's one of the favorite all-time classes I've taught because you're sitting with students. Some really know a lot about neurons, others really know a lot about other things, and you're talking together about this stuff, and it's really exciting. So that's what it's about. Now, do you major in biology or major in psychology? Whichever you're most excited about, right? Do you really like the biological level analysis? Do you lean towards the psychological level, or do you want to do both? Either one of those is fine. You get the seminar no matter what, and it just kind of depends what direction you want to go afterwards and what more of the foundational knowledge you want as
Mhm.
you do that.
And the best part about DU is you don't have to decide as you go through the admissions process. You can also kind of go back and forth between the two your first couple of years. So
That's right.
lots of
Yep, absolutely.
flexibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a couple questions more about just the size of the department. So, how many students are in the psychology major and or minor? What is average class size that way? And then because of that, do we have any impacted classes at the university that students maybe struggle getting into a class based off of maybe
Okay.
the
I
size of
didn't know what, I didn't know what an impacted class was.
Oh
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds like a tooth.
It does.
Um, so psychology and biology typically vie for the largest majors on campus. We have about 760 majors, is what I heard last week, which is a lot. We also have large faculty, so it's not like a small faculty teaching a large number of students.
Mhm.
What that does mean, though, is that the largest class you'll probably have at DU is going to be Foundations in Psychology. So that is just, it is typically over 100 students, which by DU standards is absolutely enormous. Now, I was a graduate at the University of Michigan, and 500 was a large class there. So it's not quite that big,
Mhm.
but at DU it's big. So what we're doing is we're actually starting new next year, a different way of teaching foundations in psychology, where we're going to have discussion sections where you break out to a 22-person section for discussions. So you get the large lecture, and by the way, our faculty do not lecture for 2 hours. Even with this revision and how foundations work, I was talking with two of the instructors yesterday about how they're going to do this new course, and they're like, well, I'm still going to have discussions and experiential stuff during the 90 minutes of lecture, but we're going to have the 22-person individually led breakout classes also for that. So I guess that's a class impacted by the size of the major in doing that.
Mhm.
Those middle level classes that I talked about, those 3 or 4 classes, they tend to be between 60 and 75 students, always with 1 or 2 TAs to help manage the discussion for that. Then when you get to the other classes, the specialized classes, they're going to be closer to between 20 and 30 classes. The classes I teach, the FSAM is 19 students. I teach an advanced seminar, which is also in the common curriculum on the psychology of religious and spiritual practices, and that is 19 students. Um, then there's also like the research labs tend to be maybe 5 or 6 students in the research labs, which again you can take for credit or not for credit. So they are large. We have designed the curriculum so that the impact of those is less. And then the idea is that you seek out those non-class opportunities to get some of the closer, more one-on-one, five to one, that type of thing experiences.
Appreciate it. I think we have time for one more question.
Okay.
And it's one that maybe, especially from your advising background, that you can
Uh,
definitely hit on.
yeah.
But what usually pushes a student to have to decide either between going the Bachelor of Science route rather than going the Bachelor of Arts route? Whether
Yeah.
it's other majors that they're seeking, maybe it's their interest in research or
Yeah.
clinical work, but maybe what pushes one student one way versus the other?
Yeah, that's a great question. My advice to students is if you're already planning to get a psychology major and 2 minors, one of which is in a natural science, then go for the BS. But to be perfectly honest, the difference between the BA and the BS, because you can do everything with the BS with the BA, the same thing, is almost zero. Functionally, in terms of going to grad school, whether it be med school or PhD or a master's program or anything, there's almost no difference. Some universities don't offer both. Some only offer the Bachelor of Science. Some only offer the Bachelor of Arts. We do it simply because we wanted an opportunity for students who really wanted to focus typically on the mathematical or biological or computational piece to have an opportunity to really dig into that and have that recognized on the transcript. So talk to your advisor about the decision. It is almost, it's very rarely the case that I'd say, you know what, you really need the BS, even though you hate biology, minor in biology and get the BS, that would be a terrible idea. If you're saying, I love biology, or I love math, or I love computer science, and I'm in philosophy, or Spanish, or history, I'd say, you know what? In fact, this happened. I talked to an advisee just today who is about to graduate, and I told him, I said, you know what? You've earned the BS. Do you want to transfer? He says, does it make a difference? I said, not really, but you can do it.
Mhm.
And I think he's going to do it. But he basically earned the BS by going through the BA. Talk to your advisor. Like this many differences, this many different outcomes. Talk to your advisor to find out about that. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, no, that was great. Very good answer.
Okay.
Definitely helps us on the road as well.
Okay,
Um,
good.
yeah, but I want to thank you for your time. This is very informative, and thank you all for joining us this evening. There will be a recording made of this that we will be posting on our YouTube playlist. So if you knew someone that wasn't able to attend or there you have further questions, you're always welcome to reach out to either one of us. But we also will be sending this out with a full playlist of all of our events that we've been hosting over the last 2 weeks. But thank
Yep.
you all. Enjoy
I was
your.
gonna say,
Yes,
yeah,
go ahead.
and if you come to DU and you take my freshman seminar, make sure and let me know that you
Yes,
that
yes,
we met here. It's always fun to talk to students who I
yes,
talked to the previous year if you're
yes.
going to be here in the fall. So good luck with your search, and it's thanks for your interest.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great evening, everyone, and thank you again.